A voice from the distance just says, "Get out." Our boy is suddenly told he is being expelled from his party. He is completely stunned. This blonde man tells him he is unfit for the party. Our boy looks crushed. He asks why. This blonde man's name is Achai Burl von Gita Niga. Turns out Achai is the crown prince and a hero. And the reason for all this, barrier magic. Our boy tries to defend himself. It is true that all I have done is put up barriers. But he is immediately shut down. He tries to explain that his barriers are special, but Acha is not having it, no excuses. This kid is just shocked by the pure anger. He tries to explain their use. For example, when we camp, monsters cannot come near because of the barrier. He even put barriers on everyone's bodies for protection. Achai and his cronies just scoff. Ridiculous. Achai says barrier magic is just a simple dome shield. Our boy insists it is a versatile magic he uses to support them. But Achai has never felt this supposed support. He is completely convinced our boy is useless, but our boy was a genius, the youngest of the 12 court mages. Achai calls him a defective product. This kid pleads, "I set up those barriers for your safety." But Achai just keeps yelling. He accuses him of not even casting real magic, just useless barriers. Our boy starts to sweat. This blonde hero sneers at him. He calls him out. "You are just tagging along while lying about using barrier arts." Damn, he is totally caught. He admits it. The reason I joined this party was for the money. His inner thoughts flash. He chose royal service, all for that high and stable pay. This blonde scoffs, wanting to get money without doing any work. How disgraceful. Then he gets real personal. "You are an orphan or not you do not have a family." He says being useless is one thing, but being a criminal is another. This sentence is passed. 10 days before he is executed for illegal stay. He is told to pack his things and leave the country, but his orphanage is here, his family, and if he cannot see that girl again, he shouts, "I absolutely refuse that." He has an idea. He will go to the king, but then a bright light appears. A hand reaches out from the glow. Our boy just stands there in the rain, staring. Suddenly, he is surrounded by defeated monsters. He learns about his own power, offensive, defensive, and support patterns. Just then, a swarm of wyverns descends from the sky. Man, talk about bad timing. He admits he can only use barriers, but still. This memory of a massive blue dragon fades, and now, a man stands alone under a bright sun. He has traveled far, to the kingdom of Gita Niga, back to the small country town where he grew up, this town of Mayaku. He walks with a heavy heart, lost in thought, and he bumps right into some random guy who immediately starts yelling. This guy gets right in his face, spitting with rage. Our boy just takes it. But then a woman steps in, telling the guy off. She looks seriously angry, and she does not back down. She asks what is going on. The man complains that our boy did not apologize. She tells him to watch his tone. "But you could at least choose your words better, do not you think?" She points out that the kid is clearly having a rough time. She orders the man to apologize to him, then she tells our boy to apologize too. Man, she is not messing around. Our boy is completely stunned by this. This bully just shuffles away, defeated. Her whole demeanor changes. She smiles. "Welcome back, Rick." Rick looks up, a little lost. He says it has been a year. She pulls him into a warm hug, glad to see him. But she can tell something is wrong. She asks him what happened. He remembers who she is, the daughter of the orphanage director. They grew up together, always by each other's side. She supported him through everything, even after he became a court mage. A flashback shows them holding hands. She recalls how he tried to see the king, but the gate guards turned him away on the king's orders. She looks at him with a determined expression. She says, "Then I will go with you." Rick is completely stunned. "What did you just say?" She tells him it is because she loves him. Rick, he stammers, but she just confirms it. "Yeah, I love you a lot." He says his brain is just struggling to keep up. She confesses, "And I also love you as a man." She reaches across the table and takes his hand. She lists the reasons, like how he gives his entire salary to the orphanage. Then she changes the subject. Her dad might become the new guild master, and he is also getting remarried. Rick is shocked he never knew. She explains it has been years since her mom passed. Rick asks about the new mom, and Flair says she is incredibly capable, and because of them, the orphanage no longer needs his money. Rick just processes this. "I see," she tells him. "You have worked hard enough, Rick." She holds his hands tighter. "Hey, Rick, do you hate me?" He looks up at her and says he likes her. A small smile finally appears on his face. "Yeah, you are right." He looks at Flair and asks her to come with him. She beams, happy to leave the kingdom with him. Meanwhile, back in the capital, someone is furious at the news. This king is absolutely furious. "Bring me that idiot son of mine at once." He orders the person who turned Rick away to be sent to the mines as punishment. This king's advisor tries to protest, but the king just threatens him too. This king sits on his throne and says that Rick is a genius, a once-in-a-thousand-years genius, to be exact. He asks his advisor about the massive barrier that protects the entire capital. This advisor is stunned. He realizes what the king is implying, and yeah, the king confirms it. Rick was the one who took out that entire wyvern horde. He says Rick has a secret technique, a power beyond human understanding. Turns out the king is old friends with the headmaster of the Magic Academy. He knew all along how powerful Rick really was. Meanwhile, Acha is somewhere else, completely oblivious. This king figures his son's party must be weakened by now. He's sure Achai has finally noticed how important Rick was, but nope, Achai bursts into the throne room, proudly announcing he exiled Rick back in Mayaku. Flair and Rick walk together at night. Rick is still worried about everything, his work, their future. But Flair just hugs him, she says it is fine. I have decided I am going to support you. They both look at each other, completely resolved. This is the path I chose. Rick wonders what to say to her dad. She tells him to just be a man about it. They arrive at the orphanage under a full moon. They step inside, and Flair calls out for her dad. A man's face appears, looking surprised. It is Flair's dad. He greets Rick warmly. Long time no see, how have you been? Before Rick can even get a word in, Flair announces it. I am going to marry Rikudo. Flair's dad asks if that was a little too blunt. Rick says it is fine. Rick is still completely flustered. Really, her dad says, I know how strong Rikudo is and what kind of person he is. Flair just gives a knowing little smile. This dad says he figured this would happen. Apparently, Flair was always asking if Rick was back yet, and for that, she stomps right on his foot. She tells him not to bring up weird stuff. He then asks where they are planning to live. Rick looks a little lost. He has not thought that far ahead. Flair explains that the prince called Rick useless. Her dad already knows about that fool. Turns out he trained the prince once, back when he was an S-rank adventurer. Rick is shocked. He complains that he is never told these important things. Flair just concludes that the idiot prince has always been an idiot. Her dad tells her that as long as she is happy, that is all that matters. He walks off, saying there is one more thing. He peeks out from another room, and he comes back with a huge sack of money, a little something to celebrate. Rick immediately refuses. He cannot accept that, but Darian insists. They do not need his money anymore. He and his wife will protect the place. He just asks Rick to take good care of his girl. His new wife is an active S-rank adventurer. He mentions recent sightings of undead, vampires. He even brings up the Queen of the Night, a vampire monarch from ancient times. Rick realizes that means even the heroes could not defeat her. Darian tells him it is just a rumor, but vampires are on the rise, so be careful. Flair says they will be fine. We have got the strongest barrier master on our side. After all, Rick gives a small, confident smile. Right, a man smiles warmly. He arrives with a ton of luggage. Sorry to keep you waiting. Rick is overwhelmed by the amount of stuff. He asks how they are supposed to carry it all, but Rick has a plan. He casts a spell. Bind, barrier graph support pattern number 5, and just like that, the luggage vanishes into a storage inventory. This man is impressed. Once again, your barrier magic is on a whole different level. Rick explains his magic has secret arts for offense, defense, and support. Flair is full of confidence. With Rick around, we are perfectly safe. Rick looks determined. It is time to go. This man, Mr. Darian, gives them a kind farewell smile. Rick bows deeply to him, a final goodbye under the full moon. They wonder where to go next. Flair suggests the Magica's Empire, a place where commoners can rise. Rick looks up at the sky. He is ready for whatever comes. Suddenly, a voice cries out, "How can you even touch me?" A white-haired woman is on the ground. She says physical attacks should not work on the undead. This scene cuts to a credits page. A voice of encouragement says, "Okay, do your best." Rick stands inside a glowing barrier cube, ready for a fight. He faces the undead woman in a dark cave. She's completely shocked by his power. She cannot believe it. I have never heard of such a thing. Rick's expression is grim. He is not backing down. He prepares his final attack. Then burn it into your memory and die. A massive explosion of energy erupts from his spell. This vampire's attack gets deflected. She is completely shocked. The blood ray got bounced back. She yells that her attack can pierce a demon god. What did you do? Rick just calmly explains. I reflected it with a barrier. He explains he made the barrier's surface soft. She is furious. To think you could use it like that, and just like that, her body starts regenerating. Rick watches her, his expression hardening. He realizes, so this is what an undead is. This vampire woman refuses to believe it. Do not lie to me. Rick just keeps talking. He tells her, I am still alive. He figures it out. You cannot die no matter what, right? So he has a new plan. I will just seal your very existence. She looks terrified, realizing who he might be, and just like that, the seal is complete. Flair watches, completely relieved. She runs to him. That was amazing, Rick. Our boy just gives a small smile. Then a memory flashes back. Flair is Heaven's chosen child. Young Rick asks what that means. A woman tells him she has her own work to do. He is given a mission, protect Flair until she dies. Back in the present, they both look happy. This story pauses for a moment. Flair reassures him. From now on, the whole world will recognize you. I am sure, she tells him. I will stay by your side forever and be the one who truly understands your strength. Rick is completely moved by her words. Later, they are walking at night, and Rick asks to check the area. Flair agrees, and he walks off into the woods. She watches him go, trusting him completely. This scene fades to black. Rick calls out into the darkness. Hey, vampire, you can hear me, right? He holds up a silver cross, looking confused, and there she is, a white-haired vampire girl in a maid outfit. This cross is suddenly around her neck. She is completely panicked. Why am I outside? Rick stands over her, the cross now on the ground. She begs him to let her out. I hate dark, cramped places, Nuwu. Rick just reaches out his hand. She is furious at being forced to obey a human, but then he casts his spell, Bind. After she calms down, he asks for her name. She explains that for true vampires, a name is everything. She confirms that she is part of a clan. Rick just calls her weak, a low rank. She throws a fit. I am not weak, you are the weird one. He asks if that means she can use barrier arts too. Rick's expression is unreadable. This vampire smirks, asking about her comrades that he sealed. Rick points at her. Hold on a second. She calls him a monster. He just says that is a compliment coming from her. A voice offers to speak with him telepathically. He agrees so Flair will not notice. Suddenly, Rick is pulled right over to Flair. He just pats her on the head. She looks up at him, surprised. Rick says there are no problems, and Flair is just glad. Then she pulls him into another hug, but then Rick notices something in her arms. Flair is holding a little black cat. She says, poor thing, let us keep her. Man, that cat looks evil. Rick just mutters to himself, damn, I am jealous. This cat's red eyes just glow with menace. Rick senses trouble outside. He tells Flair he is going to check it out. Nearby, an armored knight is on the ground, crying out in pain. Rick and Flair find a whole camp of injured people. Flair says, awful, so many injured people. Wounded knights are everywhere. Someone yells for potions. This captain shouts, bring every last potion we have. Rick just takes in the scene, completely silent. He looks on with a serious expression. Flair gives him a determined look. She tells him it is okay, and with that, Rick's eyes narrow. He has made his choice. A knight explains they were attacked by a beast. The cat in Flair's arms just growls. Suddenly, the knight's arm is healed. He flexes his hand, completely shocked. It is back to normal. He calls it a miracle. This cat seems to be taking credit. The knight shouts that a renowned healer has saved them. This knight begs Rick to help everyone else. Rick says he is not a healer, but casts a spell anyway. Bind. A massive healing light covers the entire camp. The knights start cheering, calling him a god of healing. Rick tries to correct them. No, like I said, I am not a healer or a god, just a barrier master. This knight he healed suddenly warns him. There is a dangerous vampire nearby. She looks at him with hope. She says with his power it would be possible. Then she asks for his name. A younger Rick nervously introduces himself. Arakudo Guardman, at your service. A woman in armor smiles. She is the captain of the Fang Hunters. A young man with black hair looks completely shocked. This name echoes in his mind. Fang Hunters, a black cat with glowing red eyes stares intently. Turns out the Fang Hunters are specialists in vampire slaying. Rick just looks on. He did not even know that was a thing. This captain begs him to join her group. She even offers him her position. She grabs his arm, pleading, but he tells her he already said no. Later, Rick and Flair are traveling by wagon. She asks what his plan is. Flair is sleeping peacefully in the wagon. She points out that joining an organization means a steady income, but Rick explains they do not even pay you for killing vampires, no salary either. Flair says it is their noble mission to save the world that keeps them going. She concludes that the Fang Hunters are just a bunch of weirdos. Rick admits he has never been an adventurer before. A cat calls him out for lacking common sense, and Rick threatens to annihilate it. He says he trained under his master, so he knows how to fight. Flair asks about his master, the one who taught him about barriers. Just then, a massive roar echoes through the night. Rick peeks out of the wagon. Oh, perfect timing. He gives a confident little smirk. He stands at the back of the wagon and casts a huge glowing barrier. He looks back with a grin. He pats the cat, which is now freaking out, asking what he just did. He explains that monster corpses sell for more if they are in good condition. This cat-like creature realizes, so that is why you killed it by suffocating it. Rick pops up from behind the massive corpse with a peace sign. Exactly. He reaches out his hand and uses his storage inventory to make the body vanish. This cat freaks out. I mean, you are too strong. It cannot believe people called him defective. Rick asks if vampires are really that strong. The cat says in ancient times they were the strongest race of all. This cat starts growling, but Rick just picks it up by the scruff of its neck. He holds it up. Let us head back, but the cat senses enemies. Rick's eyes narrow. He is on high alert. A voice asks what is wrong. He says it is nothing. He explains that only true vampires are immortal. That thing was just a servant. He claps his hands together. Then we do not need it anymore. He looks up at the bright blue sky. All right, this cat is completely baffled. What the heck was that? Rick says it was his secret art. This cat just floats there, completely confused. Man, the poor thing is just sweating bullets. Back in town, Flair holds up a list. They need to register at the guild and find an inn. She smiles, holding up a list of places she has already picked out. She points them towards a nice-looking inn. They arrive at their room, a simple wooden door. Inside, Flair sits on the bed while Rick looks away blushing. She gives him a stern look. She teases him. Oh, so Rick does not want to share a room with me. He completely panics. Flair just gives him a sly little smile. She leans forward, looking very pleased with herself. I know, Rick just looks on, still trying to process everything. Flair grabs Rick from behind. She tackles him onto the bed. And gotcha, you have done great making it this far, you know. They stand outside the Adventurers Guild. He says he is going to register. Rick asks what the cat means by mess up. The cat says it is just signing up. They enter the bustling guild hall. A voice from the counter welcomes them. This receptionist smiles at Rick. She hands him a registration form. Then please fill in the required information here. Rick picks up the quill and starts to write. This receptionist reads his form and looks shocked. Is it really true that you can only use barrier magic? Rick confirms it. The receptionist just smiles. She explains that here you need to take a test to register. This first test is a mana measurement. Rick asks if the crystal ball will break. She says it is fine. The ball is enchanted so it cannot be broken. She demonstrates, and the ball shows a reading of 150. Rick learns it is a new magic device developed by the Empire. He warns her that he has a lot of mana. A voice calls him full of himself. Rick turns to the voice. And you are, a man with pink hair introduces himself as Kamasei, an imperial noble. This noble winks, looking very smug. Rick wonders why a noble is here. The noble just tells him to be quiet, and just like that, the crystal ball shatters into dust. This receptionist explains the tool could not handle his abnormal mana, so it broke. Rick looks away. So that is why he asked if it would be okay. This receptionist nervously moves on to the next test. Rick asks how many are left. This guild staffer continues her explanation outside the building. She says the next test is target shooting. There is a magic device in the target to measure power, and you pass if you hit a certain number. Rick figures it is a test for ranged damage, not just magic, and she confirms it. He asks how much power the target can handle. She assures him it has stabilization spells. It absolutely will not break. A short, noble-looking guy scoffs at Rick. Why would a noble even bother? This guild staffer tells him to be quiet. Rick just gives the guy a deadpan look. This noble guy yells something back at him. He scores a 132. The staffer says it is an excellent score. This guy boasts about his true strength, then tells Rick it is his turn. Rick walks up, and the staffer warns him not to use his void magic. He agrees. This noble guy freaks out. Chantless magic is supposed to be an advanced technique. A blue-haired guy notes that Rick used it like it was nothing. The vampire girl is shocked. This guild staffer is just speechless, and yeah, the target is completely shattered. She says, "You still destroyed the magic device." She asks if Rick is okay with moving on to the next test. Rick just wants to get this over with. The noble guy calls him a defective mage. He declares that in a clash of spells, he cannot lose. This staffer starts the match, and the noble begins chanting a fire spell. Rick just calmly raises a finger, a blue light glowing. He gives a little smirk. Thanks for the assist. The noble is on the ground, tied up. Rick explains. I reflected the spell with a barrier. He tells him to look around. This noble is trapped inside a massive glowing barrier. Rick calls it defensive pattern reflection. This examiner is in total disbelief. Reflect, magic, something like that. But Rick just smirks. He says it is very much possible. Once you have mastered barrier magic, that is, and yeah, the examiner is just left on the ground, muttering about how it is impossible. This guild receptionist claps for Rick. She says he was incredible and that he passes. Rick looks a little surprised. He just says, wait. This examiner on the ground shouts that he passes as well. A new guy stands over the examiner. He says Rick can handle more than enough power. The vampire cat just wonders if Rick is too nice for his own good. This receptionist officially welcomes him. Welcome to the Adventurers Guild, Mr. Rakuto Guardman. This other examiner says they are delighted to have him, and our boy just gives a happy smile. This receptionist, Ranka, looks at him expectantly. Rick asks if the guild will buy monster materials from a monster he defeated. Ranka just looks at him, completely confused. Rick holds out his hand, and a bright light glows from his palm, and then boom, a massive dragon corpse appears right in the middle of the guild hall. Ranka is stunned. She thought he could only use barrier magic. Flair says you can do it if you try hard enough. Ranka is not so sure about that, but Flair insists they can probably manage it if they push themselves. Man, Ranka just looks completely overwhelmed. A huge crowd gathers around the dragon. Rick looks panicked as people ask how he even got it there. Ranka tries to explain the situation to the onlookers. Someone asks if he suffocated it, like by knocking it into water. Ranka is still just completely lost. A close-up on the dragon's perfectly preserved head. Ranka finally tells him, Mr. Rakuto, I am afraid we cannot buy this here. Rick is shocked, so he switches gears. He asks for a quest, an herb-gathering job. Ranka says they have one. He immediately takes it. She tells him to take the request slip. A hand signs a document written in some kind of ancient script. Someone in fancy boots walks down a set of stone stairs. This person stops and decides to go collect some herbs. A flashback. A younger Rick stands in a town square looking lost. A man with kind blue eyes gives him a warm smile. This must be his master. Back in the present, Rick is furious. Do not okay me. This cat is freaking out. Why did we just casually fly here? Rick says he flew with barrier magic. This cat cannot comprehend it. That does not make any sense at all. Rick just calmly picks up a rock from the ground. He heads into the woods to gather herbs. The cat asks if he can even identify them. He says he does not need to. He casts a spell. Bind. A massive barrier envelops the area. This is a credits page for the Scanlation team and another page pointing to their website. A voice cries out for help. Rick looks up, recognizing the voice of a wannabe noble. This cat just calls him a weirdo, and yeah, it is the vampire girl's voice. She gives a smug little smirk. A girl on the ground thanks him for his help. He tells her she can thank him later. A massive monster is instantly sliced into pieces. The girl is stunned. Rick calls it his offensive barrier pattern. A single drop of blood runs down a razor-thin barrier line. Damn. Rick just watches, his expression unreadable. A man with a big mustache smiles. Of course, Daishi. Rick's eyes narrow with determination. He shakes hands with the mustached man, who says he is counting on him. Rick asks where they are going. The man tells him, to the town of Ito in the kingdom of Gita Niga, Daishi. Rick realizes that is right next to Mayaku. The man says they need to hurry, but Rick says there is no need for an explanation. Rick just gives a confident little smirk. He says there is no need to rush, because they can just fly there. This mustached man is completely baffled. What the heck? He just cannot believe what he is hearing. Rick's eyes glow and he casts his spell. Bind, a flashback. A young adventurer is about to be killed by an orc, but Rick was there, looking on with a calm smile. This scene flashes with a golden light. They are inside a large church-like building. A healing spell is cast. This adventurer looks up, completely stunned. His wounds are completely gone, a miracle. This man offers Rick a reward, but Rick is confused. He asks what the man means. The mustached guy is just as lost. We see a woman crying over a dead man's body. Rick looks on, the cat gasps. He tosses the cat's soul into the dead man's body, and yeah, it works. The soul entered. Rick focuses his power. He just needs to heal the body now. This man on the bed starts to stir. He wakes up, completely confused. The woman just cries and hugs him. Everyone is in shock. He actually came back to life. Rick collapses, exhausted. The cat realizes he created a sacred domain and called a soul from heaven. Rick gets up, he explains there are restrictions. It only works right after death, and you need a body, but still, the cat knows this is power far beyond any human. Suddenly, a group of people are bowing deeply to Rick. He is completely confused, and yeah, our boy has no idea what is going on. A voice says, I am not. And just like that, two people are running off. This vampire girl just mutters about how serious he is. She asks about his master, and he says his master also only knew one type of magic. He explains that his master taught him how to develop his non-attribute magic. She wonders if this master is even stronger than Rick. She asks who this master is and where they are. Rick just looks off into the distance, lost in thought. He asks himself which it is supposed to be. This vampire girl looks on, a little nervous. Man, she seems genuinely worried about the answer. He explains that in the land of the dead, she keeps watch. Her name is Lavemarie, the witch, and she is the one that all demonic things fear most. Rick's expression turns somber. She yells at him not to get down, telling him he is the last one who should say that. So anyway, with the merchant's problem solved, Rick tries to leave the guild, but the merchant stops him. Our boy just asks what he wants. Ranka tells him to wait because she is going to call the guild master. He just apologizes to Ranka and then he casts a spell right at the counter. He teleports away, saying they can talk to the guild master next time. Classic. This guild receptionist Ranka just looks completely flustered. A flashback to Flair greeting Rick with a hug. Welcome back. She has the biggest smile on her face. Rick smiles back. Yeah, I am home. He thinks his fatigue just disappears when he sees her. Back in the present, Rick enters their room. Flair welcomes him and the cat. He is surprised she is done already. They sit on the bed. And he admits the quest took longer than he thought. He says he was worried about leaving the country. This vampire cat just chills on a nearby stool, watching them, but Rick says he is confident he can live as an adventurer now and their income should be stable. He looks right at Flair. I will make you happy. She looks completely touched. And yeah, the cat is just watching them with its glowing red eyes. Suddenly, Flair bends over, looking like she is in pain. She stays hunched over for a moment, but then she brushes it off. Must have been my imagination. This next day, Ranka is waiting for him. She says, Mr. Rikudo, today you are going to meet the guild master. Rick is confused. Ranka looks dead serious. He remembers that was a thing. He wonders about the look on her face. He hopes it is nothing too troublesome and asks if it is about a job. Inside the guild, Ranka confirms it. The guild master wants to ask him to do a job. Rick seems relieved. He looks a little surprised. A voice calls down from a staircase. So you are Rikudo, huh? This voice tells him to have a seat. They enter a fancy office. A man sits behind a large desk. He begins to explain the situation. This must be the guild master, a serious-looking man with a beard. After hearing the details, Rick just says, I see, then I am the right man for the job. This guild master notes that Rick solved that recent high-difficulty quest all by himself. He says that is why he believes Rick can handle this one too. He is asking him directly. Rick confirms the job. In short, you want me to do something about the monster that appeared in that ruin. This man is overjoyed. He shouts that Rick will accept. Elsewhere, a blue-haired man asks a question. So there is no one else, only two people in this village. He clarifies, only two living humans. A dark silhouette looms below. He reaches out to a zombie-like villager. He says he will fix them up. This blue-haired man's hand glows with a powerful light, and suddenly, the vampire girl is screaming her head off. Rick looks over at her, completely annoyed.